An Empire of Ice and Fire by Longclaw 1-6, Chapter 17, Deal with the Devil. It had taken 5 straining pairs of arms to dump the steer carcass onto the dirt floor of the abandoned barn, but from the way Rhaegal had set upon it with gusto was worth it to Jon. It hadn't been a month since the green dragon had flown into his life at just the right moment, but he almost felt like a son to Jon. Slowly running a hand along his neck, Rhaegal had etched himself right in alongside Ghost in his gallery of loved ones. Non-human, at least he was. I still can't fucking believe it. Jon turned to glare at Gren, who quickly shut up. Only Jon, Ghost, Sam and Tormund could approach the dragon without complete and utter caution, and Rhaegal only tolerated Sam and Tormund. The brother in black knew he couldn't take care of the dragon without more people than already knew, so in came Gren, Pip and Ed. His brothers amongst the Brotherhood, friends since the beginning, Jon knew he could trust them with his life. Along with them came a young boy, a northerner by the name of Ollie. His family was murdered by wildling bandits that had gotten over the wall, ones Jon had personally tracked down and killed upon his return. He was immediately loyal, and the only one among the group who watched the dragon with awe instead of suppressed terror. Petting Rhaegal's snout, Jon made his way to the door. I'll be back soon, Rhaegal. Another death glare was due in for Pip, who looked at him as if he'd sprouted 2 heads. They looked at me like that when Ghost started to grow big, and this is much more bizarre. Exiting the barn, Jon turned to them all. All right, now you can talk. How in the fucking hell did you get a dragon? Ed burst out. I mean, of all the people the long dead beasts with fire would go to. All right, enough. Jon was humble, but that went too far. Tormund laughed. He's got a point, King Crow. Despite Alliser Thorne being the acting commander, Jon finding out that Mormont had died in a mutiny, Tormund still saw Jon as the big man in the Night's Watch. Hiding out here as Rhaegal's personal guard instead of being a prisoner in Castle Black, most of Jon's cadre regarded him with suspicion, Ollie most of all. The red-headed warrior was an acquired taste in Jon's experience. You crows should head back before the asshole starts asking questions. I'll hold the fort here. Clasping Tormund on the back, Jon and his group mounted their horses and galloped back in the direction of Castle Black. I thought about it, Jon, Sam said as their horses slowing to a trot. I looked at some books in the library. Nothing shocking about that, murmured Gren teasingly, only to clam up following another glare from Jon. Everyone still remembered what had happened during training with Ghost. Thorne and his loyalists hated the pig, while the current circle were all friends. Only those with Valyrian blood had bonds with the dragons, and those were quite deep. A dragon and his rider would connect for life. Woo! Snow! Nothing's getting over the wall now, hooted Ed. Jon rolled his eyes. Shut up. I have to ask, Sam asked, do you have any Valyrian blood in you? Any Valyrian at all? Jon shook his head. Nothing on the Stark side. My mother. Perhaps she had Valyrian blood after all. But then his father had said she was of the north. Oh, Father, why didn't you just tell me? Father... Jon would never know who gave birth to him. Only being apart from Daenerys hurt him more. I don't know. Has to be it. There's no other explanation. Enough, Sam. Jon cut him off. Thorne doesn't care about what you and I discovered about the White Walkers. He won't do anything to stop it. And it's just going to battle with the Wildling army until we're all walking corpses. They should all die, Ollie muttered, still bitter about his family. Ollie, it's better to have them alive and fighting our common enemy than amongst the dead. We took down the swine that attacked your village already. He quieted down, pondering Jon's arguments. The lads didn't know whether to believe Jon, but then again, Jon had a dragon. Alliser hates me. He hates all of us, Jon remarked Gren. Jon shook his head. No, me especially. And he's going to ignore any plan I come up with. We'll be dead by the time he gives in. He gripped the reins tight in his fist. I'm going to have to run for Lord Commander. The soon-to-be-known fact that none thought he could succeed wouldn't deter him. A cloud of gloom had covered Highgarden since the Battle of Blackwater Bay. Their beloved Loras, heir to House Tyrell, was killed by King Joffrey, according to the bards. The vast majority of the Tyrell army perished on the city walls, or were crushed in the Battle of the Bitterbridge. Held down by a holding force while Tywin Lannister moved to rescue the capital. He marched back and defeated Mace Tyrell in a strategic envelopment that wiped out the other half of the combined army of the Reach. Only exhaustion and bankruptcy kept the Reach from falling right there, with both its warden and heir dead, leaving the fair Rose of Highgarden and the Queen of Thorns to manage the battered domain following the disasters. And now, a visit from the capital. An important one. Was here. Someone that could change the course of the entire realm. I understand how difficult it must be for you to trust me. Marjorie, the Rose of Highgarden, scoffed. That is an understatement. I know it was you that caused Renly's death. It had to be done, Melisandre conceded. For the sake of justice. Besides, I know you prefer another. The statement caused Marjorie to blink. The Red Woman turned to the Iron Matriarch of the House Tyrell. King Joffrey is ready to begin his project. But to do so, he needs more men and resources. Hand Tywin seeks to use the strengthened army to crush all houses that oppose him, while Lord Baelish is planning to strip all the riches to pay for their projects. Prince Doran of Martell has formed an alliance, despite the bad blood, his son Trystane to be betrothed to Princess Marcella. Dorne would never side with the Lannisters, even someone as weak and spineless as Doran. A small smile curved on Melisandre's face. Lady Tyrell, you could have easily had me killed as soon as look at me. Why would I lie to you? Elena narrowed her eyes. Why are you here then? Because the Lord of Light wills it, was the cryptic response. Before either Tyrell could respond, a dispatch rider burst into the room. Much of the Tyrell army had been destroyed, but there were still enough guards to man Highgarden. My lady! The Lannisters are moving! He croaked in laboured breaths. Tywin Lannister is on the march. His advance guard is already entered the Reach. The Queen of Thorns stayed stone-faced, while Marjorie began to panic. Oaken cane smacking against the stone, Olenna chuckled. Dear Marjorie, you must always plan 5 moves ahead. Our army is but a shadow of its former self after your brother and Renly lost it, either on the walls of King's Landing or to Tywin Lannister's pincer following that debacle. She leaned her frame on a stone column flanking the window. I have stashed 15 of our grain transports in a small port north of Old Town, just in case we needed to escape. Marjorie felt numb. The level of denial that it had endured since Renly's death given forth to glaring, chilling reality, and it petrified her. We have nowhere to go, grandmother. Everyone we have is either allied with Joffrey or not a friend to us. Perhaps we should try and make peace. Offer me to Joffrey in betrothal to keep him from coming after us. Joffrey was always going to come after us. The High Tower's allied with him, and they need our resources for whatever giant project that madman thinks he needs to build. Olenna gripped her granddaughter's shoulder, shaking her. Use the mind I gave you. We will die. And you, the last of the Tyrell blood, will die if we don't leave. You will go. If I have to beat you till near death, I will. Faced with the wrath of the Queen of Thorns, aged but not yet beaten, Marjorie's protests collapsed. In time, she would deploy her grandmother's will. Just not today. A not too sad grandmother. Watching the familial interaction from afar, Melisandre waited for the quiet to settle before speaking. There is one safe place for you. Somewhere that will not be threatened by the Lannisters, by the Golden False Prophet. And where is that? Olenna asked, sick of the riddles. She hated the prophetic claptrap. Melisandre simply smiled. The place I have foreseen. The place resided by that who was promised. Viserys was a light sleeper. It wasn't by choice, but learned from living on the run from Robert the Usurper's dogs. Now confined to the dreary cell in the Winterfell castle, ironic considering his hatred for the Stark family, such skill came in handy to prepare her for whatever threats came his way. In this place, booted feet clacked on stone floors, sent a shiver of dread through Viserys' body. doors groaning as the key unlocked it and the hinges creaked. The presence of a hulking guard. He involuntarily cringed, spotting the truncheon hefted in his hands. "Get up!" The guard didn't wait for Viserys to comply, barreling in and yanking him upright. "Unhand me!" he mustered, defiant to the end. "I am the dragon!" "Shut up!" came the responding hiss, guard pulling him out roughly. The sunlight was soon hitting Viserys' skin. Trapped indoors for the last month, the shining orb in the sky was greatly welcome. Truncheon prodding him onto his back, he stepped along the freshly cut wood floors as he gazed at the teams of men partially repairing the burnt castle. "So the Starks suffered a disaster? Good." Essentially throwing him inside one particular room, the guard shut it with a bang. Viserys glanced around furtively. A roaring fire crackled in the fireplace. Room dark and cosy, but sparse of furniture. Only a single table and 2 chairs decorated the room, with one being occupied, and sitting on it was the same man that had captured him, still with that same satisfied grin on his face, the one that made Viserys' blood freeze. "Welcome, Prince Viserys," announced the man, mouth full of well-cooked beef. "Come, sit. I won't kill you." Eyes hardened. "I may if you don't sit, though." Viserys sat. The same broken, hunched-over man shuffling over, setting another plate of food. It smelled delicious. "Thank you, Reek." Viserys took a bite, using whatever self-control he had not to gobble it all down. Who is that?" "No one important. Used to be the heir to the Iron Islands, but not anymore." Meeting Viserys' eyes, he chuckled. "Allow me to introduce myself. I am Ramsay of House Bolton, heir to the Bolton title and future Warden of the North." Violet eyes inspected him warily. He didn't have the noble air of a great aristocrat, even for the barren wasteland of the North. "I thought the Starks held Winterfell." "They did, but my father and I took it from them." Ramsay laughed cheerily. "Ned, Arya, Bran, Rickon and Robb Stark are dead. Sansa and Lady Catelyn are trapped in King's Landing, and Jon Snow's stuck in Castle Black where he can't bother anyone." "Good." Anger boiled within Viserys. "You should have that Snow bastard killed." Ramsay raised an eyebrow. "Oh? I'll talk to my father about that." Inside, his mind was racing. And why would you want that to happen? Whatever reason, he knew he could manipulate it. "Forgive me, Bolton, but why am I here? You haven't had me killed, despite the fact you could have had the balls to kill off the rightful king of the 7 kingdoms." Ramsay's lip curled into a rather wolfish grin that Viserys had seen before. "You see, we are in both a bit of a quandary. You have the legitimacy, but not the resources. I have the resources, but not the legitimacy." There was a pregnant pause before he continued. "I am proposing an alliance, a bartering of sorts." "And what would we barter?" Viserys was starting to warm up to this place. "Simple." A grin widened into something approaching a sneer. "I'll get you your throne. Afterwards, you give me your sister." Windows left open, cool breeze wafting into the enormous bedchamber atop the pyramid. The dank, stuffy heat was vented well, and made the desert tropical landscape bearable. Even in such comfort, Dany's body refused to drift off to sleep. Resting below the covers, staring at the ceiling, no change of position could ease her discomfort with the situation. Even as her hold on the city was becoming more and more secure by the day, but her heart clenched in anguish. Hidden anguish, but anguish nonetheless. Twisting onto her side with a huff, her hair splayed out like a halo over the plush pillow. A hand reached out to ghost over the empty space to her left. So alone. The size of the bed only magnified how lonely and empty her life was. All the power in the world, all the glory of reclaiming her house for what it rightly belonged to it, had no meaning if she was forced to enjoy all the spoils alone and unloved. Daenerys closed her eyes, imagining that instead of an empty sheet, a hand was running over the muscular shoulders of her love. "Oh, Jon, I miss you so." Nearly 4 years since they had last held each other. and she still remembered everything about him. Dani forced herself not to wanting him to be another forgotten memory, one she knew of but couldn't really discern anymore. I wish you were here with your family, ruling with me, being this queen's king. A gentle creaking of the door caused her to bolt upright in her bed. Hand involuntarily went to Viserys on the nightstand beside her. No assassin would take her down without a fight. Show yourself! Her voice was cold and even. What responded was a soft, unmistakable voice. Muna? Dani immediately melted, putting her sword back and softening her own voice. Arya, sweetling, what are you doing? Come here. Even with the darkness, she extended her arms in a welcoming gesture. Whispering scuffles and bare feet, nearly inaudible, brought not only her precious daughter, but her handsome son as well. My darlings, is something wrong? Bad dream, Muna, Rhaegar replied, his lip quivering. Arya nodded, indicating the same. Even the scions of two mighty families, wolf and dragon, got scared. Their childlike fear broke her mother's heart. Come here with Muna on the bed, sweetlings. She couldn't resist them at all, being nearly the perfect blend of their father and of her, of Stark and Targaryen. Oof! Dani grunted as Arya scrambled over her, settling into her left side as Rhaegar settled on her right. She chuckled softly at the coziness of it all, wrapping her hands around both of them and embracing them tightly. Your Grace? The door opened wider, and a worried-looking Grey Worm stuck his head inside. Short sword out, he looked ready to do battle. The twins are missing. Dani wanted to laugh. Look at the bed, Grey Worm. The knowing widening of his eyes was priceless. Oh, well, good then. He finally managed to say in a heavily accented common tongue. I will be nearby if you need anything, Your Grace. With that, he closed the door to her chambers. Settling into a comfortable collective position, Dani kissed each of her 3-year-old twins on the head. Want to tell me what happened? They shook their heads, tightening against her. All right. What do you want me to talk about? Tell us about Daddy, Arya said. Is he really a great warrior? Rhaegar asked. Deep down, Dani knew that the twins would end up asking about their father. Given that Jorah was the only one aside from her that even knew of him, though Ned Stark was legend halfway across the world, it was only natural he'd be the one to prompt their questions. In any case, Daenerys had no compunctions to answer. Just thinking of Jon brought a pained longing to her heart. He is, sweetling, one of the best. If Jon had joined the Night's Watch as he wanted to, he had to be a great one. Your daddy is one of the finest swordsmen in the world. Where is he now? Arya asked with wide eyes. They were a stormy grey, exactly like his. Why isn't he with us, Muna? Does he not want us? Dani stroked her silver hair, trying to comfort her daughter. Of course not, sweetling. How could she even tell Arya or Rhaegar that Jon didn't even know they existed? If Jon knew he would be here, renouncing his vows, putting his life at risk. Only Dani wished he was here as well. Damn any consequences. Dani loves both of you, my sweet dragon wolves. But he is a watcher on the wall. A Stark has always served on the wall, protecting against the dangers of the icy north. Bad people, monsters. He fights to protect the realms of men. She trailed off, noticing the soft breaths of her 2 children. They were both asleep, serene and curled up next to her. Soon she joined them, images of her long-lost love flashing in her mind. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed this. That's a nice one, that one. Viserys and Ramsay being crazy together, though Ramsay's clearly wearing the trousers, not that Viserys is aware. Rhaegar sleeping in a barn with Jon's friends and Tormund being the only ones who notice. And Ollie is in this. A lot of people don't like Ollie, and I agree because of the show. But keep your eye on him. I think he might surprise you. And of course, little Arya and little Rhaegar being so sweet. I I really love the idea of John and Danny being parents. I just think they'd be so good at it. Anyway, remember to like, comment and subscribe, and hit that bell to get notified for whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Bye!